Well, that's a bummer. And so is that. Negative, angry, hateful? No.
Tired of negative content that brings you and your algorithm down, ruining your day? Don't be that guy. Level up your screen time. Welcome to 216 Creator Studios. We are fun, funny, informational, educational, entertaining, motivating, and we are here for your listening and viewing pleasure. Make sure you check out The Grounds every Friday morning. We live stream at 7:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. Kent, Drew, Scott, Steve, and Kelsey will make you laugh, cry, and learn something new. Or how about Let's Talk Local, a community podcast spotlighting local businesses and events and the stories of how and why they do what they do. Or how about Around the Piano, where Tim Paul and Drew Cappuccino interview new, talented musicians as well as some of the great titans of the music industry. And if none of that strikes your fancy, how about one of my personal favorites, The Stories of the Paranow. Watch as Seabass, and myself research, react, and judge some of the craziest paranormal articles and videos that we can find on the net. And if none of those strike your fancy, we have so many other shows to watch, and we're bringing new ones in all the time. So go to YouTube, 216 Creator Studios, hit that live tab, hit that like button, that share button, that comment button, that subscribe button, ring that bell so that you never miss an episode. Our shows are broadcast on youtube.com/@216thenet/streams. Find us, follow us, and get inspired today. 216 Creator Studios, content that moves you forward.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Cappuccino behind the scenes here at another episode of the Little Black Rain Cloud Chronicles. Hey, listen, if you like what you see here today, don't be afraid to go to the old Google box, YouTube 216 Creator Studios. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Said that real fast, Hope. Like, share, subscribe, and ding that bell for the future notifications. This way you never miss an episode. Hope, how have you been?
I've been.
Oh, of course. And so being one of the Little Black Rain Clouds, last episode talking about you, your past, and now, we're bringing in some guests to create that collective of clouds.
Yep.
We're building a storm, folks. Listen, what were your thoughts after you watched your episode?
Well, first of all, listening to yourself talk is like Chinese torture, just so you know.
You get used to it.
I just thought this is going to be either really great or it's going to be really terrible. But we had a lot of response. We had quite a few comments, and we had a lot of outreach from people that were willing to come on and be a part of the storm, as well as share their stories. And it was very touching to me that people that I never thought would talk about their stories, and we're talking about a whole season worth of stories, 12 episodes. Yep. Over here. That poor Nico over here is like, no, there's so many things she's sending me.
That's all right. We love it.
17 emails in a row of just things that we're putting together and just trying to. There's so much stigma and so much taboo. And we just don't talk about stuff. And I think if we talked about it more, maybe we could get somewhere.
I love what you're doing. You're definitely changing the space out there with people who have had something similar happen to them. I think everybody's got a little bit of that black rain cloud, inside where they're like, man, I can relate. That's why I love this show, because so many people are listening to it. They can relate to it. They all have their own little story. Now, to your left, we have a guest. Who do we got there?
So this is Christian. Christian and I actually work together. I am very lucky to have found him in my current position at work. He's fantastic. And after getting to know him, over the last few months, realized that his trauma and my trauma match a little bit. And like, this is not a club I want to be in, but we're in it, and we're going to get jackets. We'll talk about merch later.
Nice.
But
we need jackets, motorcycle vests.
Yes.
We'll start an MC crew.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
That'd be hot.
Yeah. I mean, can you sell motorcycle?
Well, in the green room, I was having a conversation with you and Christian, and I feel a little bit smarter. I like to surround myself by people smarter than me, and it doesn't take much. There could be a raccoon in the room, and I'm still the dumbest guy without Google. The greatest thing about you is that the intelligence just generates right off of you, and you can feel it, and you're attracting other people
Smart
that are as smart or maybe smarter than. I mean, just looking at Christian, you're like, wow, there's a man of numbers right there.
Yes.
He's a man of
This is the
numbers.
smartest 22-year-old
Right.
I've ever met in my entire life. Insane.
Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you very much for having me on. I'm glad to be here.
Nice. And then so we have another guest too
Too.
that is coming in remote, right? Let's go
Remotely.
ahead and bring her in.
So this is Jen. Jen is also smarter than me. She is fantastic. She introduced me to Animal Crossing. And when I say I spent hours of mindless entertainment just earning money for Tom, what is it? Tom Nook?
Nook.
But Jen and I have known each other for quite a few years, and she brings a whole level of joy to my life.
That's awesome.
She's
I love
always
it.
happy. I don't know how, but she's always happy. So yeah, Jen's fantastic.
All facade.
Yes. Lots of therapy.
Well, yeah, that's everybody here, right? Like there's a fire hose of therapy shooting everywhere.
Oh yeah.
So
Everybody should go to therapy.
for sure. Nico's my therapist, and vice versa.
How much does he charge? Is it reasonable?
It's free. He doesn't have a choice.
Oh boy.
I'm
Okay,
basically
well,
his
he's out of my
adopted. I'm
pay.
his adopted father. So, Nico, I am your father. So who wants to start with a story? Let's get this on the ball. What are we
Okay,
doing?
so today's episode is completely now. First of all, let me actually go back. Before we got on, Nico and I were actually talking about this. I have a list of all the episodes and what topics they're going to be about, and realizing that, oh my goodness, I kind of applied to all of them because trauma compounds and it overlaps and it has many different names. So just because today is going to be about one thing doesn't mean we won't talk about this again.
Sure.
So today's episode is actually about grief and loss of a loved one. And I mean, that literally is such a broad topic because I mean, you can love and have so many different types of relationships, but everybody in this room and remotely in this room have all felt loss in multiple ways. I mean, I don't think any of us have just lost one person. We've all lost multiple people. But that's what today is about loss and grief. And the way that I connect with Christian, may I?
Yeah, go for it.
He's like, I don't want to share on the air, even though we talked about this. Christian and I have both lost our dad. I lost mine in 2013. And it is just one of those things that you never really know what to do with it. So I wanted to be able to talk about those things and the emotions that don't have names. Like, I don't know if this is true for everybody else, but I think the hardest days for me aren't the holidays, but the random Tuesday when you walk into a grocery store and see somebody's favorite candy bar, and then you end up on the floor with the clerk sitting there with you. This is not a true story or anything.
Right.
So
I understand that.
those are the kinds of stories that will come into play in this episode, and what works for grief and what doesn't work for grief, and things that are kind of a lie about grief, and just everybody's journey is going to be different. So just bringing those things to the open.
Right. Well, that's, so everybody on camera here has a grief story, I'm sure. Behind the camera, I am the last of my family. Mom, dad, brother, best friend, 15 months apart, gone. Not only gone, but it was a decision to not only lose him, but him begging me to make sure he goes in peace. So I had to pull the plug to that. So let me tell you, the grief for me is consistent, and I thrive on it because I'm afraid if I lose it, then I'm losing a piece of him and my parents. So every day is a challenge,
Right.
and it'll be a challenge probably for the rest of my life. Now, how do I utilize that? I talk as if they were still here. Certain things I yell at them because I'm going through his stuff and I'm like slob, right? Which gives me a chuckle and makes me feel like he's not too far. My parents, the same thing. Lost them a while back. And you know what? The understanding of loss is no matter what you want to do, it's going to happen. Everybody's got a number. You just don't know when that number's up, right? So how you live your life, and when I say live, people are like, well, you only live once. No, you live every day, you only die once. How you live your life is really key, isn't it? Because it brings forth a sense of journey. Like,
Right.
wow, what am I doing with my time? And how am I spending that? Is it misery? And if so, how do I change that? So for me, grief is all the time, but I'm okay with that.
Well, I think a lot of people who have never gone through grief. Now, it baffles me when I meet somebody who's never lost anyone and they're like, oh, I'm so lucky. I'm like, no, you're not. I don't ever wish that on somebody, but like in the instance of one of my best friends has never lost anybody, still has her parents, still has her siblings, still has all of her friends, has oddly enough, she's the same age as me, has all of her grandparents. God bless them. I mean, they're getting up there. But I mean, she is going to get hit in the face as an adult, while some of us have seen grief throughout our lives or seen it in various ways before having them the entirety of your life so far. So I don't know what's worse, having seen grief young or waiting until you're older.
I don't think there's an answer to that. I think it's grief is grief.
Yeah.
And everybody's going to have to tackle that in their own way. There's no answer, rhyme or reason. This isn't a math problem, right? That's what I said earlier. Everything can be answered by math. This you cannot. This is something that you are on your own with, no matter how you look at it.
Well, it's going to go into another one of the episodes, but I lost my dad in 2013, and that alone was confusing because how do you deal with not having a parent around that you've had for your whole life, literally, but then also to know that person chose to leave. My father committed suicide in 2013,
Mm-hmm.
and so every time there was an answer for something, there were more questions.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that one thing that's not spoken about as often is how angry grief is. Like, yeah, it's sad. Of course, sadness is the default thought that everybody has about grief, but anger is my default emotion when it comes to grief. When I'm trying to cut...
That's the Italian. I mean, you know what I mean? Let's just be honest.
But I mean, there are days when I go to like cut the grass and I can't figure out how to put the stupid spool in the weed whacker. And I'm like, pardon my language, but where the fuck is my dad? Like, he's the one who's supposed to be cutting the grass. Anytime my mom needs something, I'm like, where the hell is my dad? Like, this is his job.
Right.
And he chose to not be here. And I know that there's mental health awareness that needs to go into that, but it still doesn't change the fact that I'm mad about the weed whacker.
No.
So enough about my story for now. Like, let's jump in though. I mean, Christian, do you want to jump in?
I can definitely tie into that. How anger was a huge part of your grief. Personally for me, so having lost my father in 2017, I was 14 actually. Yesterday was the 8-year anniversary of his
Jesus,
passing.
Christian, why didn't you tell me to reschedule the episode?
No, it's all good. It's all good. But I was in 8th grade at the time, and it really did have an effect on my anger. I was a little shit at the time. As we'll go, further into in a later episode, I was a bit of a bully. I was very rude to my mother and my brothers, as well as my peers at school. And I didn't really notice it. It was I was blinded.
Were you on autopilot?
A little bit, yeah. For a while I was. Now my father passed away from several types of cancer. He was in hospice for about 2 weeks before he passed. But I was really in denial. I thought, okay, this is going to be fine. My family, we're going to get through all of this.
Right. This doesn't happen to my family. It happens to other families.
Exactly. So, when I got the news that he had passed away, I didn't cry. I wasn't shaking. I wasn't really distressed at all. I just kind of went numb. But then over the course of those, succeeding month, it was okay, this is really starting to set in. And then over the course of years, I mean, all throughout high school, I mean, it took me until like my senior year to really be like, I'm kind of being a dick about this. I'm taking this out on a lot of people who really don't deserve it. And that's sort of when I made my change. I was like, this is not at all like, what would my dad think if he were here? Right. What would he say to me? And so one of the things that I remember most from my childhood was he would always tell us, okay, the big guys look out for the little guys. And so that's when I was like, okay, you know what? My brothers are even younger than me. They need me to embody something here. So then I started, I really shaped up. And now I'm at where I am today. Hopefully a better guy.
And to be fair, let me put this out there for everybody who doesn't work with Christian every day. Christian is a math instructor at the same mathnasium that I work at. And every single day he works with kids, and he embodies that older brother role, that mentor, that sometimes dad role, especially for, some of our students who have lost a parent. And because he's completely open with them that I've been in your shoes, that there's nothing that's going to make this suck any less, but we're in this together. And I think that that's comforting, knowing that, I can't get you out of the dark, but I can sit with you in it. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I'm going to jump a little bit, because then we can kind of go around with everybody here, but I'm going to bring Jen in. So Jen, may I share?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Jen and I have been friends since, I want to say 2016.
It sounds about right.
Yeah, we're old. Everybody else is getting older. We are aging like a fine wine.
In the 20 teens somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere around there. Our sons were best friends. Alex is absolutely the goofiest, most amazing clown of a beautiful little boy that I've ever met in my life. He was fun. First time I met him, he was trying to say hello to me, but he had an entire donut shoved in his mouth. And I have a picture too. I'll have to pull that up and send it to you. But so Jen and I have been friends for a while. So going off of what Christian's talking about, Christian lost his dad. But Jen, if you're open to share, I'd like to hear your side of the same coin, pretty much.
Yeah, so it was February 14th, 2020, because it was Valentine's Day. and both of my kids were hit by a distracted driver while they were walking home from school. My son didn't make it. My daughter is medically, she's in a minimally conscious state, but that everybody who meets her is like, that this is not minimally conscious. I caught her trying to hook her finger around the gardening knife while I was outside the other day. And I was like, what are you doing? And she's like, but yeah, so lost him, pretty much lost her. And then, with COVID, everything happening, and we then moved to get her the care that she needed. So lost job, lost support, lost friends, lost house, lost just about everything.
Lost husband being in the same house all the time because he's working while you're working at home, and the whole life shifted, changed. There was nothing that was untouched by this event.
Yeah.
And let me just put it out there. If you're listening to this episode today, which is airing on Friday, and you're doing it in the car, please do it safely. If you are texting while driving, pull over. If you are on the phone, you need to be hands-free and completely focused on the road, because it doesn't take much to be distracted for just 1 second, and it changes somebody's entire life. For the person that hits somebody's children, they still live. They're still here because they're in the safety of their vehicle, versus the person that got hit. And I can't stress it enough. I don't know if the puck challenge is still active, but if it is, I'll link it in the description below.
I don't know if it is or not, but
if not, then we will get the book put in the chat or in the description for the hockey book for Alex. Alex was an incredible young man, and he wasn't my son, but when it happened, I didn't even know how to react. And that's like a tiny percentage of what Jen and her husband were going through, obviously. So if my tiny little grief was what it was, I can't even, it was, I don't even, there are no words, but does anger play in the same way for you as it does? I would imagine so.
Yeah, there's a lot of anger. I don't always know how to manifest it. So yeah, there's like raging and then disassociating is pretty much like back and forth between that. So yeah.
And then you're still a functional human being with, responsibilities for.
That's what you think.
Well, I mean, you are, though. I mean, your daughter's care. I mean, for the record, I love her. She cracks me up. And I mean, she always has, even before the accident. She was always such a character. But, that's full-time work, caring for her. And providing for her has taken on so many different roles. Like, you do it with a grace that I don't know that I would have. I don't, you show up for her. And I mean, let's be real. How often are you showing up for you? I don't know, but you are showing up for her every second of every day. And that changed because, and it just became that because of one person's, frankly, terrible decisions.
Well, and it's like, it's hard to make people understand too, because like especially this past Mother's Day when people are like, Happy Mother's Day. I'm like, I don't really want to celebrate Mother's Day because I don't feel like a mom anymore. I'm a caregiver. I'm still her mom, but I'm more of a caregiver than a mother figure, if that makes sense.
It does, but you're still a mom. And I mean, I think the word caregiver and mom are interchangeable, even when these aren't the circumstances. Heck, when I'm sick, my mom's definitely a caregiver. I don't feel good, I go to my mom, or, to somebody that is a caregiver for me. So I think even had these events not happened, you still would have been a caregiver, because that's what moms do.
Yeah.
Moms provide care. They provide the giving of like all things that make you feel better, even when you don't want to drink tea because your tummy hurts. But I can see that like Mother's Day is not the same anymore as and there's that connection as well. Valentine's Day is the day that my dad attempted the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So Valentine's Day is no longer a good holiday. Although, to be fair, slight tangent here, if you're not good to your woman the whole year, Valentine's Day doesn't matter. But don't be a dick. But Valentine's Day doesn't look the same for me anymore. It's just not the same. And then, people say Happy Valentine's Day, and I'm like, yeah, you too, I guess. Sort of, whatever. Holidays are weird. Everything becomes different. And then how do you carry that? Like, I don't know if it's just me. Does it piss anybody else off when they're like, oh, well, time heals all wounds?
Yeah. or our personal favorites, me and my husband, it's the, well, everything is for a purpose.
What possible fucking purpose?
Exactly.
In a child getting hit by a car. Children getting hit by a car.
He, like, that's one of the ones where, like, my husband is, like, seeing red. I sit and see it, but he sees red, so.
Well, it's trying to find justification in the absolute unwarranted.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like my grandparents. My grandparents are all gone, but my grandma, she was suffering there at the end, and it wasn't long, but I didn't want to see her go through it. So when she passed, that happened for a reason, because now she's not in pain anymore. But they're senseless. You see all of this violence and all of these things that are happening. What purpose? I mean, that goes down a whole theology rabbit hole.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I think that would make me see red too. Oh, it happens for a purpose.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, so I know you're Catholic. I'm also Catholic.
I'm getting better.
Despite being a part of the faith, I despise it when people say it's part of God's plan. I'm sorry. Like, as much as I, believe in all of this, no, I don't think that God had anything to do with that. Those were some of the worst years of my life. Sure, it made me into the person I am today, but I don't know. I feel like it's that's not helping anybody.
I think I'd much rather see you get to this point with your dad in the picture.
Yeah, it would be a lot better.
The man he wanted to see, because he was there to shape it.
Exactly.
Not because he wasn't there to shape it. Like,
exactly.
That's where you get these conundrums. Like, I would much rather, see Jen pulling her hair out because Alex did something that he probably shouldn't have done. He probably got in trouble at school for something, versus not getting in trouble at school for something. It's being told that there's a purpose. Like, for anybody who's out there, if you're saying it's all in God's plan, I'm going to tell you right now, I know that you mean well when you're saying that, but don't say it, because it doesn't happen for a purpose, and it hurts the people you're telling it to. And I think the one that bothers me the most, Jen, you and I have talked about this a couple of times, is when people say, I'm praying for you. And you know damn well that they do not pray. Like, none told me I'm praying for you. Thank you, sister. I appreciate that, because I know she's actually praying. But if it's like, little, Jim over here in the corner who's like, oh, I'm going to pray for you. No, you're not. Prayers and thoughts. For what? Like, it's a lack of an answer. It truly is the lack of an answer. If you want to sit with me in silence, I'm here for it. But don't try and make me feel better if it doesn't have meaning for you as a person giving it to me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, too, a lot of times when it comes to that, and you just have this loss, right? People want to compare their stories with yours instantly. And you're like, in your head, you're like, don't care. You know what I mean? you're going through something. I had when I lost mom, dad, brother. I had somebody like, well, I lost my grandma once, and that was really. I'm like, thinking to myself, I'm like, yeah, your grandma's supposed to go. My brother was 50. It's kind of like, don't compare yourself or try to share a story thinking that that's going to better it. All you can truly say, and my business partner here, Kent Deke Jones, he said it perfectly to me when my brother died. He just says, that sucks. That's it.
Mhm.
You don't need to say, I'm going to pray for you, or, even thoughts and prayers, it's even worse when it's the praying hands on a text, or, sometimes that makes things worse. Right.
I mean, genuine connection is one thing to say, I am so sorry. I have to be able to say, I have no other words. I don't even know if Jen knows this, but when there was the text message had gone out from I think it was from one of the moms in the school that said that there was a student hit that day. And it was 2020. It was before COVID took over our lives. I thought, well, my son's home. He's fine. And then I thought, oh my God, Alex and Charlotte walk home. So I don't know why. At the time I had Jen's number, but I text her husband and I said, oh dear God, please tell me your kids are home. Because I'm thinking, oh, he's going to say, oh yeah, they're home, no problem. Like, I didn't think much of it, but I was just like this weird thought in the back of my head. So I sent the text and he goes, no, it was them. And that's all he said. And then he didn't respond. And then for a second, I thought, he's fucking with me, messing with me. And then I'm like, oh, wait, hold on. That's not how he is. Like, in a million years, he would not joke about that, especially with his own kids. And it was like, all I could think was like, how do I fix it? And then there's that helpless feeling. There's nothing you can do. There's literally nothing you can do. So I'm like, well, what would I want? And I'm like, a blanket? Do I bring Jen a blanket? Like I knew that they were going to be at the hospital. I knew that they were going to be there a while. And I'm like, okay, she's going to need her phone charger. She's going to need a blanket. She's probably going to need coffee. Like I didn't know what to do other than mom her.
Right.
So it was like, it wasn't thoughts and prayers. It was, here's your phone charger. So like, if you really want to help people, and this was something that Jen really hit home for me, was when we had a student at the center who was going through brain cancer. And I said, I don't know what to do for the student's mom, because I can't obviously fix the student because,
right.
Not an MD. But what do I do? She's like, well, get her a coffee. And we were going to start a GoFundMe as well. And I was like, how do I get people to donate? Nobody wants to donate. She said, ask if you would buy that person a cup of coffee. And if so, take that $4 or $5 or $7 or $8 if you're going, elsewhere, and put it in the GoFundMe instead. And those are the kind of things that I think really make a difference when there is no difference to be made.
Being useful, I think is the answer. Yeah. If you want to help, just be useful. There's no words, there's no corrective scenario that you can really do. All you can do is help maintain what their dailies are. If that's the case, bring them a dinner at night. Did
that help, Jen? When I know that for a while there's a company that does food trains where they bring like dishes to the home, or they give gift cards and things like that. Was that helpful for you guys, Jen? I never asked.
Yeah, because we had the meal train for a bit. And that was really helpful. I still don't remember a whole lot. The hospital was really great, and they had like this room that originally was going to be like a Ronald McDonald's room. And they hadn't actually turned it into that yet. And I think like surgeons were using it for napping. So they let us stay up in there for a little bit. so people could bring food and we'd have a place to like go sit and eat, which, usually people had to drag me away and make me eat something. But yeah, I did not leave very much. And even if they were like, all right, you're going to go home and get some actual sleep and a shower. And I would sleep for maybe like 2-3 hours, immediately get in the car and go right back.
What would you tell other people watching their loved ones and their family? Like if you were me in the situation, looking at you, I know that was like the weirdest sentence from the outside, what can people do to make this not easier, because there's nothing that's going to make it easier, but what can make this a little bit more manageable on the routine side and the things being done for you, given to you, or what could we do? What would it be that more sustainable?
And I know with me, like it's hard. I get yelled at by one of Charlotte's nurses all the time because she's like, why won't you let me help you? And I'm like, well, there's things that I'm on autopilot. I just do it. And sometimes it actually will like get under my nerves if she's like in there trying to do something. I'm like, I got it. Just back up. Let me do it. But the biggest thing for me is the company. Just having people who will like sit with me, hang out with me, chit chat, even if they had like questions about stuff. I'm always like, I'm okay to answer questions, but I mean, two of my friends are like in Seattle. They can't really come out. They can't really do anything. They're in a house with like 6 roommates, so they don't have a whole lot of money either. But most of the time, if I'm like, I'm really upset today, and they're like, what do you need? Do you need to vent, or do you want advice? Or I'm like, I need to vent. And they're like, okay, tell us everything. And they won't offer suggestions. They won't like interject. They'll just listen and be like we were saying, like, that really sucks. And you are completely entitled to feel that way. That helps a lot. So.
Well, we as people, and especially in certain generations too, I think the older generations more than anything, we have a hard time with the word help, right? Because and especially after, something so traumatic, it's almost like I deserve to be in pain. I deserve not to have help. I deserve, you know what I mean? So we don't even know how to ask for it. And if we get it, we're awkward on how to thank for it or accept it. Which we're also taking the opportunity away from somebody to help, which is a different perspective of looking at it. I do think the answer for me, it was just be there, just be present. Just, you don't have to say anything. Just, I don't want to be alone. And sometimes that takes that little extra edge. It smooths the rough edges a little bit, right? It doesn't fix the problem. There is no answer to fix the problem. It's just something that you have to go through on your own in order to do. And maybe once in a while ask, be like, hey, what can I do? If there's anything else I can do, let me know. I'm here. I know some people will show up and mow somebody's lawn because it needs to be done. I know that, making sure that maintain that life status for you to keep moving forward. And then one day you know what? I need the distraction. I'm going to mow my own lawn, but thank you. So I think the answer, and she's right on the head. The answer is be, just be. If you could be there, great. Not everything is the answer with money. Not everything is the answer with, items or, everybody gets together. It's a weird gathering, right? When this first goes down and you're like, everybody's there, they're talking, and it's some call it, what do they call it? It's not a funeral or a wake. It's a
like a celebration.
A celebration of life, right? You're celebrating somebody's, but you don't want to celebrate.
Yeah.
You know, you're not. You're not. You know, yeah. You want to let everybody know that this life was important, but you're not celebrating it. But everybody else is celebrating their life. But then that comes to an end.
Yeah, that comes to an end as well, and that was kind of weird for in the instance of my dad. We had this celebration of life, and I'm like, what are we celebrating? Some horrible decision at the end that he made, because I wasn't willing to admit at that point that there was a mental health aspect to it. I was just angry. So we're celebrating this life, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm mad at him. Like, I didn't want to celebrate. I was like, no, you should be here. And so I think just I had people that came to this thing that didn't necessarily celebrate with, they didn't know my dad. They just came and sat by me. They didn't say anything. They just sat there.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really comforting. Like, just to know that they weren't there to celebrate. They were there to sit and wallow with me. As weird as that sounds. Like, I mean, Jen and I, from time to time, when I'm like in not a great place, I'm like, Jen, can we go on Animal Crossing and be mad at Tom Nook? Because it literally, that's the only thing I want to do when I'm on the game is be mad at him because I owe him money. Tom Nook the crook. Sure. What do you
Come
mean?
water my plants.
I need to log in. I really do, because I'm sure there's so many weeds on my island. That's not what I said, Cappuccino. That's not what you heard.
I got nothing.
But no, I think that being realistic about it and knowing that there doesn't have to be an answer, there doesn't have to be a solution, there doesn't have to be the right words. I think at one point I told Jen, if you want to go to the thrift store, we'll go to the thrift store and get a bunch of dishes and we'll break them. That's always my go-to, which, again, you don't have to be that either. You can just exist. We still have to break plates, for the record.
Smashing things
Yes.
really help. I do that without a loss.
Yes.
Just because I have those
Well, it's
issues.
cathartic. Like,
Right.
rage rooms are a thing.
Oh yeah.
They're absolutely a thing.
We totally wanted to go one, but everything was shut down from COVID at the time, so we couldn't go.
One right by me. You should come visit. That's a little easier for me to come to you, so maybe we'll find one by you.
I think there is one.
Sweet. We're going.
That should be on camera, by the way.
Well, I have one for my last round. It's pretty fantastic. I put a crowbar through a television.
Nice.
Christian, so I have a question.
Yeah.
What does that look like? Like, on the you mentioned hospice, like on the hospice side of things. All my grandparents were hospice, but that kind of almost seems like the normal progression of things when grandparents get older. They, they're, whatnot. But what do you do for your loved one who's going through that with a parent in hospice, something like that? Like, what could somebody have done for you?
I honestly don't think there was anything that could be done. It was really just, I don't know. Nothing particularly comes to mind. All that I know is that throughout that whole entire process, I just tried to maintain my normal. So I'd be, hanging out with friends, going on as though life were, just the same. Now, I was a bit stupid at the time. I didn't realize that hospice was end of life care. I thought my dad was just going in there to get a little bit of treatment, and it would be same old, until he said goodbye. But I can't think of anything that anybody really could have done for me. One of my most clear memories of my father was it was a few days before he passed. We went to go visit him, and there's a local ice cream shop in a hometown Geneva called Graham's, and my dad absolutely loved their chocolate malts. And so we went to So we went to Graham's. Me and my I believe we went with my mother and my uncle. We all got our ice cream, and we picked up a large chocolate malt for my dad, and we went straight over to the hospital. And I don't think I've seen him more happy in my life. He really did. He slurped that thing down. I mean, he probably shouldn't have. He was pumped full of every painkiller known to man. He was.
Well, then why not?
Well, yeah. So he was.
At this point, it's quality over quantity. Like,
exactly.
You want him to have that the malt. Give him the malt.
Exactly. And so seeing him get to enjoy that at the end, that was really. That's something that stuck with me. So I think the only thing that could have been done for me would have probably been more time with my father. I unfortunately didn't get very much time with him near the end because unfortunately he didn't want me and my brothers to see him in the state that he was in. He was, he was incredibly sick at that point. The cancer had metastasized to several parts of his body.
So he was shielding you from the scarier side of it.
He was. And going back to that whole like anger part, for a while, I really despised my dad for doing that to me because I don't remember much about him anymore. I didn't get to share a ton of stuff there at the end, and I wish I had learned more. And I feel more angry for my brother's sakes because, they were, 2 and 4 years younger than me at that point. So
one was 12 and
6th grade, and then 5th grade. Yeah. So 12 and 10.
Yeah.
So, I don't think, going back to your question, I don't think there was really anything that anybody outside of my family could do for me.
So maybe that's the point, that maybe people don't need to go out of their way to feel that there's so many things that they should be doing other than just being present, like we talked about. That being there for you, making it known, like, I'm here. I don't know if she was annoyed by it or not, but Jen probably got, I don't know, at least 100 bad jokes from me. For a while there, it was every day I was sending her a really stupid joke just to see if she'd laugh at it.
I liked the jokes. Yeah.
They were, Christians got more, so I got but it's the helpless feeling from that side. But then the other side is like, I didn't want anything. I wanted to lock myself in my room and everybody leave me alone. I wanted to disappear. And we'll get into suicide next episode because that's its own bottle of like nonsense. But they always talk about those, like, the feelings you're supposed to have, the stages of grief. But there's feelings they don't have names for. They're never in order. And sometimes you feel multiple at one time. So it's okay to feel the way you feel. You are justified in the way you feel, even if nobody else gets it. I'm glad that nobody else understood what I was going through. I don't know if Jen would agree. She probably would feel the same. Like, I'm glad you don't know what it's like to lose.
Oh, yeah.
Like, but because you don't know, you also don't get to tell me how I feel.
That's right.
Loss is a weird thing. And I am going to be the first person to say that therapy is important, but you have to choose it for yourself. But I think therapy is definitely an important thing. When I was ready, I went. And I go every Wednesday. I'll see Todd tomorrow.
On Wednesdays too.
Wait, same here.
I think we all go to therapy on Wednesdays.
Yeah,
Tomorrow for me too.
My therapy sits right next to me.
You see him tomorrow?
Yeah, I see him every day.
Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesdays.
Yeah, Nico was the first one to jump on the train and be like, I'm coming to your brothers and I'm going to help you get through all this. And he did. Which I couldn't be more grateful because hard to go through and see everything. I had 3 people's worth of stuff that don't exist anymore to go through, and he helped me kind of go through that. And trust is a huge thing because my brother made good money, and he would, like a squirrel, would hide piles of cash throughout the house. And on his deathbed, he told me, he's like, let me tell you where the unsung fortune is. And I'm like, I'm not talking about your money right now, man. This is stupid. And we're not doing that.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and he chuckled and he goes, oh, okay. And then I realized that he squirreled away balls of money in certain jacket pockets, around rubber band balls.
My
And
grandmother did that. Is that an Italian thing?
it might be, but I can tell you this. I'm like, I had to go through every single pocket, every single thing. And I couldn't just have anybody come in and help me get rid of stuff, and it was like, oh gosh, why would you do that to me? And then I thought about the laugh that he did. And I'm like, you son of a bitch.
Can we take a back second though, because let's lighten the mood a little bit. When my grandfather passed away, my mom's father, I'm going to call him now, Mr. James Jones, or if you knew him well, he'd have called himself the Reverend Jim Jones, and that's for another show. No, not the same one. But he when he passed, I had to go through all of his stuff because my mom wasn't ready, and she was also dealing with my grandmother. My grandmother wasn't going to do it, one, because she was like 4'11", couldn't reach some of the drawers. And so I'm going through his stuff. And if you've got kids listening, please avert them. I found his porn stash. But the problem was, I didn't know it was a porn stash because my mom's a singer. So I was like, oh, okay, he's got one of my mom's demo tapes because it says Debbie Does Dallas.
Oh,
Not my mom, Debbie. That was a different Debbie, and he was not singing.
not in tune, at least.
Oh, well, yeah. So I was like, well, I have the Betamax machine over here. We can pop it. What am I watching?
I literally got hey man, I'm sorry to do this to you, but when you go through my room, I'm sorry. And then when you go through my computer, I'm sorry.
I'm more sorry.
That I got that right off the bat from him. I'm like, great.
We had the same grandfather. His brother passed away, as well. And when I went to help, my cousin go through that stuff, we found boxes of 8mm, like porn, and it had no music. It had no sound. So it was like, we actually had...
Were these home videos?
No, thank God they were not home videos.
Good Lord.
But we watched a couple of these, and I'm like, we should make noises or something, because this is awkward. And there was it was bad. I'm like, what was he doing? And I'm like, I'm going to call him out. Uncle Bud, you were a freak.
Well,
your brother was bad, but Uncle Bud, ooh, hello.
Oh, yeah.
Hello, nurse.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the lighter side. Now I can laugh about this.
I like how that's the lighter side.
That's the lighter side.
I want to tap into one thing. So let's, as he said, regret. As a father, I understand why your father did what he did.
Oh yeah, no, I understand.
And that's hard because it's a bit selfish, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's like, I want my kids to remember me for who I was and not where I'm at now, right? If I was in that peril. So I do understand that. And there's always going to be some form of regret. Always some form of regret, no matter what. I relive every day in my head the scenario from him, talking with me the last night we got to talk, and my brother wanted to hold my hand. Now we're both like hot dagos. Our hands sweat, and I go to move my hand because it's like hot and sweaty. And I told him, I'm like, I gotta. And he looked at me like, you're letting go. And I was like, oh God, that image in my head, I can't get rid of. Right. And I was like, no.
Just switch hands.
It's just gross right now. Right. Like hand hot and sweaty. And you're already a train wreck in a certain mindset during this time. But, listen, regret, it's selfish a little bit when people that you love are on their way out, because you're thinking about how much time you have left. Let's just be honest about that. There's a little bit of selfishness to it, because you're like, oh, let's get real. We just got real. Everything that you do on your day, the car that you own, the home that you own, the problems that you have are really nothing. you know, because you realize that you only visit on the Blueberry and you're only here for a certain amount of time, no matter what. You just, you know, and listen, money doesn't buy happiness. It rents the hell out of it. Right. But that's just it. Everything is rented here. So it puts a mindset when people come to your celebration of life, funeral, whatever you want to call it, they're there and they're not necessarily thinking about what's happening there. They're thinking about, wow, how much time do I have? Because I think that's a common thought.
Well, it brings to mind,
and it's okay.
Mortality.
Of course.
Well, yeah, and I don't know if people who have gone through a lot of loss have a dark sense of humor, or if that's just Jen and I.
Oh, I'm with you.
To be fair, I think Jen and I had it before that.
Correct.
Yeah, we're theater kids.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But
you're all goth at that point.
At that point, has it?
Hello.
You're wearing all black. I'm wearing all black.
Colors.
Right.
Yeah. No. Actually, now that I think about it.
The red shirt that happens to be branded for the work.
Yeah. Probably just that one time. Yeah.
So is anybody else on the dark humor side that think it's even weirder when people are like, you shouldn't be so dark?
Why?
Yeah, no,
I earned this title.
Yeah, I would definitely say that my humor darkened significantly going through that grief. And part of it does come down to just that humor is, I mean, it treats the symptom. It doesn't treat the whole underlying grief, but it gives you some relief at the end of the day. I mean, like when you're laughing, you're not crying.
You're not crying.
Right? Correct.
Well, I mean, I think we can.
Well, you can laugh and cry,
but I mean, there were things that were funny to me that nobody else found funny. Like my aunt, she's sitting at the table with my mom, and she's like, "Deb, I just don't understand. What was he thinking? What was the last thing that went through his head?" And I'm like, "I can tell you what went through his head." I said it out loud. My mom was like, "Hope Marie," and I'm like, "What?" Like I thought it was funny, or like you're hearing bad karaoke. I'm like, now I understand why Dad did what he did. Like these are the things that are funny to me, but not to anybody else.
But it gives you that sense of like relief almost.
It also gets rid of the fake friends because if they can't handle me at my worst.
Well, that's true too. My brother and I, when Dad died, when Mom died, we got the urn and we, how much money, what an industry, number one, that is, right? And so we got she was a teacher. She was an ex-nun in Roman Catholic Church, and she was an educator.
We'll talk about that later.
Oh, yes, we will. Maybe.
A different episode.
But through all these educational process, she taught school. She always wanted the hard kids that were tough to teach, the disciplinary kids, and she changed lives. And so we got the subscription of the little subscribe thing on her box and and everything else. We got all that done, and it cost so much extra money. Right. Well, Dad, since Mom did everything, taught us baseball, Dad was a bar fly. He worked nights and then he was at the bar most of the time. True Southside Italian kid from Chicago. And it was one of those things where when we sat down and the guy was trying to we have this urn and it looks a certain way. My mother was like, well, do you got a coffee can? Because this guy's good to the last drop. And they were like, well, wait, what? And don't you want the little emblem with his name on it? He's like, I got a marker.
Tupperware that my mom absolutely hated because you could never see what was in it. But he loved this Tupperware. I was like, you love it so much, be in the damn Tupperware.
Right.
And I brought him from Vegas to here to bury him, which we'll get into the Catholic Church later on that. But when I brought him through the airport, that was the first time he ever went through TSA without being thought of as a terrorist. TSA did not search him. They put a quarter under him and put him through the x-ray machine. It was fantastic. So
mind you, the fake hip that might have been in that box. Beep, 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 beep.
So before I know we have to wrap up, but before we do, and it's okay if we don't want to, but I think each one of the people that we lost left a legacy behind. There is not a day that goes by that I don't think about Alex. Like whether it's the donut in the mouth or quoting the Monty Python and the Holy Grail, like it, whatever shenanigans I'm getting into, I know Alex is watching me do it. Like he is all about it. So if we're okay with it, if everybody's all right to, you don't have to, but I think we should say their names.
Okay.
Let's put their names out there.
Okay.
So I lost my dad, Benedetto Joseph Vitale.
I lost my father, Thomas James Goulding.
I didn't know his middle name was James. Oh.
And I lost my son, Alexander Bush.
Mm.
He was adorable, by the way, guys. I've got pictures. Jen, can I show pictures to the crew over here?
Yeah. Both of them were such goofballs.
Anthony Thomas Casascio, Barbara Ellen Casascio, and Daniel James Casascio.
My grandfather was James.
Yeah.
Nico, you got anybody you want to put out there?
My father, Kevin Maltop, and then my cousin, who is also named after him, also Kevin Maltop. So
Here it is.
Dual Kevins.
Dual Kevins. I also have a Kevin that goes in this list, but
So when you say a prayer, it could just be one prayer of dual purpose.
dual purpose.
That works. Yeah,
All the Kevins. This is for Kevins.
that's
Kevin-
real efficient.
Kevin squared.
That would mean 4 of them.
Well, I don't know. That would depend how multiplying, Kevin works.
All right, now we're in math. I don't know. I got nothing.
So just to end it all, let's put it out there that if we're gonna, Nico is gonna put in the description because he's our guy. One of these days he's gonna be on the show. Beside the disembodied voice behind the curtain, in the description we're gonna have a list for our email address, which is we are rainclouds@gmail.com. If you have a story or there's something you want us to talk about, or there's a topic of trauma that you would like to be a guest that we can bring you on for, drop us a line. If there's any comments, anything like that, complaints, put those in file 13. Go check another podcast.
Right.
And then we also will put in there, I think we should put a charity for cancer.
That would be nice.
Research,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
And then also if the puck promise is still open, we're going to put that in there. It's a promise to not be distracted while driving. We should make that promise regardless if the challenge is still open. And we'll also put in there Alex's book because he was a goalie for the Las Vegas Junior Golden Knights.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Inspired by the characters, inspired by Alex and how he got into being a goalie.
Very cute book. I'll bring
That's
it up.
awesome. And then welcoming 2 new members, 2 of the first 2 members
Yes.
to the Chronicles.
Yes. We have our official first 2 little black rain clouds to join the storm.
Welcome to the league, folks.
Thank you guys. For
Once you're
being
in, you can never leave. No, I'm just kidding.
Once you check out. It's like Hotel
Oh, yeah.
California.
About to say the Eagles.
Remember, folks, if you like what you see here, make sure you go to YouTube, 216 Creator Studios, or 216 or 216. Everybody says it differently, and that's okay. Hey, YouTube, like, share, subscribe, ding that bell for the future notifications. Until next time, Hope, want to take us out? I don't know.
Clarify your.
I don't know.
I'm Sicilian. You can't say take them out.
Well, no,
Duffel bag.
we just ended the show with a different type of show.
That's episode 7. Yeah. No, I appreciate you guys being on, and let's next month, our episode is going to be on suicide, and not only losing somebody to suicide, but one of our guests also had attempted suicide. So we're going to talk about all of the ugly truths about suicide and all of the unanswered questions that we won't answer on the thing. It's kind of like unsolved mysteries, but that's our next topic. So tune in if that's what if you like us so far. Tune in for next month.
Awesome. Thanks, folks. Enjoy your day.
216 Creator Studios, your gateway to professional podcasting. Whether you're a seasoned podcaster or just starting, 216 Creator Studios offers state-of-the-art podcast studios designed to meet all your recording needs. From crystal clear audio quality to a comfortable creative space, we've got you covered. With fully equipped rooms, expert support, and flexible booking options, you can focus on what matters most, your content. Join us and bring your voice to life in the best environment for podcast creation. 216 Creator Studios is here to help you create something extraordinary.